Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Hey, happy New Year's Eve, people, and we have football that matters. I don't know if anybody remembers the last time a Week 18 game has been this exciting. It's been a long time, and this is the entire world is watching, especially the NFC, because one person's going to be the one team's going to be the 5. We'll talk about all that much more. And of course, the Gophers have headed over to Charlotte for their bowl game. We'll break all that down coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show. And you are on a podcast network that's Locked On Sports Minnesota, people. And just for those that are new to the show, I mean, this is New Year's. I'm not going to expect everyone to know I am Ron Johnson. I did play football for the University of Minnesota, played the NFL for a little bit, but now I cover the Vikings and Gophers for various networks. One, of course, my own podcast, the Ron Johnson Show. Myself, my host, my co-host Sam Ekstrom, we truly appreciate everybody that's been with us through the year. It's 2024, the last day of 2024. 2025 is right around the corner, literally. But I want everybody to know you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. And yes, like I said, it's simple. I've done it. Now, I don't know if I would bet on the Lions-Vikings because that's a toss-up game. You just saw the Lions put up 40-plus points. Like, they can score in bunches, but their defense gave up a bajillion yards and points as well. So I don't know how I would handle this Viking, but I'm pretty sure there are some games out there. Just find the Dallas Cowboys. Go find the Las Vegas Raiders. Go find the New York Giants. You probably can win an easy $5 bet there, and then you'll get the bonus bet. So make sure you guys do that. But Sam, as my co-host joins the show, Sam Ekstrom. It's been a long year, Sam. Before we jump into the show, what are you thankful for 2024?
Oh, I mean, everything, right? What we get to do day to day, just kind of, Dan Barrero likes to say the toy department, right? We play in the toy department. We're playing in the sandbox of the sports world. We get to have fun with it. It's fantastic, all the engagement from all of the viewers, the commenters. And then thankful for family, thankful for our health, everything. It's been a great year. Can't wait to 2025.
And when you think about 2024 for me, I'll say the winning season for me has been fun. It makes the content better. Could you imagine trying to every day get fans excited about a 3-win team? Like I do not understand. I know there's a lot to talk about. Like you could talk about how bad the team is, how we just fired our coach, we just fired our coordinator. We're going to get a new ownership. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a new head coach. Like there's so much bad that goes on with these losing teams, and it's so fun and such a blessing to be a part of a winning organization. Let's be real. As I'm preparing this week for the pregame show, just breaking down Lions film, it's like it's fun. It's fun. I could not imagine trying to be a Las Vegas Raider right now or a New York Giant breaking down film. But you know what? The one thing they can look forward to is a new quarterback, probably in Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. The Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. I know that's the talk, but we're not going to do that today. We have to talk about the battle for the number 1 seed, Sam. And when I looked at the way the Lions game played out and the way the 49ers were able to move the ball on them, I also noticed that the 49ers defense did not seem motivated. I know they talked about, the Devondre Campbell exit and, what that felt like when all of a sudden Dre Greenlaw comes back and, he was the heartbeat of this team. They talked about the Super Bowl when he gets hurt, just running off the sideline. And Patrick Mahomes, like right away notices like, oh man, 57 is hurt, which is the heartbeat of their team. And so that's been missing. And then you have the Devondre Campbell issue. And so it just did not seem like a together team or defense. And then you look at the Ricky Pearsall, and how they're just trying to feed him the ball to see what he's about and see what he's like. And, guys, whether they want to play or don't want to play or can't play. I mean, it just did not, but they found a way to put up points on the Detroit Lions, and the 49ers were not motivated to do it. The Vikings are motivated to do it. That defense is motivated to stop Ben Johnson's offense. And so I feel like, I mean, they showed all the injuries pregame of the Lions. I feel like, one, Kevin O'Connell is primed to beat the Lions at home and get the number 1 seed. It just feels like this is a Cinderella story. But two, that solidifies Kevin O'Connell as MVP, coach of the year, because all of a sudden now you've defeated the guy that everybody thought might be coach of the year with all his injuries and all the adversity he's overcome. And now you go do it and beat him. And you talk about, you have a backup quarterback. You have guys, your left tackle. People can keep forgetting they're doing all of this without the number one of the best tackles in the NFL. Mm-hmm. People forget that they just jump forward and talk about the Lions injuries and all these other. You forget Christian Darrisaw is a part of this team, and he's not able to play. He's not able to make it to a Super Bowl if they make it. So I think that's why, if this happens, Kevin O'Connell is coach of the year, and that's simple. But that's what I watched, Sam. When I saw the amount of yards being run on that defense by the Lions, I'm like, I don't know if they could stop a nosebleed, let alone the Vikings. And the Vikings defense, actually, the way they turn the ball over, they're going to give up yards, but they do want to find ways to turn you over, and they've done it every single week of the season. And this is about to be another one. Like, this is another week where they're about to have a turnover, and Jared Goff hasn't faced that too much. And so that's why I feel like this is going to be the Vikings number 1 seed. I don't know. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. Whatever the over-under is on FanDuel, I think it's 57. Take the over, because I don't know if the Lions can be stopped on offense, maybe slowed down. I mean, I think the last game, Ron, where you held them to 31, that might be your best hope. And then you try to outscore them from there. You can't let them score 40. Hold them to 27. Hold them to 31, and then I think you've got a good chance to outscore them, because the 49ers did not punt, Ron. There were 0 punts in that football game. They showed the graphic on ESPN. It was the first time since 1937 where a game had 10 or more touchdowns and 0 punts. Might be the same on Sunday. I think the Vikings defense, though, has a much better chance to slow the Lions down than the 49ers did. Vikings defense is opportunistic. They could take the ball away a time or two. But, man, that Lions offense is functioning at a high level. I mean, without Montgomery, I don't think they really lost too much of a step. And you know why? Because Jahmyr Gibbs is just insanely, insanely good. So more Gibbs on the field, maybe that's good for Detroit. They've got Jamison Williams, who's flying everywhere. Amon-Ra St. Brown just finds the soft spots, hasn't dropped a pass all year. So whatever the over-under is, I'm hammering that over, obviously. But what a battle it's going to be, how epic it's going to be. And I'm curious, Ron, how many Vikings fans get in that building? Or is it going to be just a wave of Honolulu blue? What do you think? Do you think it's going to be highly attended?
I think it's going to be highly attended. The problem is, I don't think the Lions fans, the way the Vikings tend to do with the Packers games, I don't think they're going to sell their tickets on the open market. Like, I feel like this is the best ticket in town. It's a night game in Detroit. Vikings fans are going to try to get there, but, finding a ticket at a reasonable price is going to be tough. Now, I will say, coming off of Christmas, some people probably already prepared for this game. Some people early on already bought this ticket, because if you go back to like week 2 or 3, the Vikings-Lions game in Detroit did not seem like it was going to matter when you talk about Sam Darnold being a quarterback. And I think that's like, for the fans that were smart enough to say, you know what, that's Christmas break. That's the last, whatever Sunday before our kids go back to school on Monday. So let's just do it. Let's keep them out. Or and the thing that might suck too is for the people that did do that, did buy a ticket, and then did have like a flight out Sunday night, because originally they thought it was a noon game. And now they're like, well, wait a minute, Delta, Sun Country, can we get a, like, what do we do here? Can we stay? Can you get us out the next morning? So I think that might add to a little bit of this for the Detroit fans that don't live in Detroit, that had a ticket, that were planning on flying out that night. Because a lot of people do that. They get on that like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. flight after a noon game, or that 9 p.m. flight, because they're like, look, the game's over by 3 o'clock. I can get to the airport by 6 or 7, and then I get out of the last flight of the night. Well, that's not going to happen now, because it is a night game. So I know people were scrambling with that as well. But yeah, I do feel like one, Vikings fans are going to try to get there. If not already, they had already planned on it and they know it. But two, going back to your point, Jahmyr Gibbs clearly is like, it's going to be tough when Montgomery comes back to how they handle this. 18 carries, 117 yards, 6.5 yards per carry, because he is a little bit quicker. He is a little bit more of a home run hitter, and you don't get that as much in Montgomery. Montgomery is more of your bruiser, and Jahmyr Gibbs is clearly showing. But again, he normally doesn't carry the ball that much. How can he make it all the way through the playoffs with, and maybe 18s, and again, 18 was the number because of the 49ers. I don't know if 18's enough for a good defense. And that's the question can he carry it 25 times? Can Jared Goff put the ball in his hand more? Because we know, like, when Jared Goff's gone, and this is one of the most like highest throwing, as far as completion percentage, attempts, because normally it's like they're like, oh, he's 18 for 18, or he's 25 for 25. Like, they don't want him in the 40 throw range. Like, they're not trying to have that. And so it looks like, that just what the game called for. We have to throw the ball. We got a ton of offense. For those that, wanted a Monday night game, even though it felt like, okay, this is a waste of a game, it doesn't matter to the Lions. They got a show, offensively at least. They got an offensive show. Like, defense, I don't know about that, but they got an offensive show. Both quarterbacks threw the ball 34 and 35 times, over 300 yards for both quarterbacks. The one thing about the Lions is they did turn Brock Purdy over twice. But I feel like Sam Darnold is not that quarterback. Like, he's not just callously throwing the ball away. But the key for me, Sam, and as I break down my key for this game, because I'm bringing this back later today. I'm doing something on Vikings.com with Tatum Everett, and the one thing she's like, what do you want to focus on? I was like, third downs. Because if you look at the 49ers, 5 for 8 on third down, and the Lions 9 for 14. Fourth down, 2 for 3. And I'm going to actually probably look at some of the fourth down calls, but 2 for 3. So third and fourth down, that's going to be the huge key for Flores. If it's like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, don't be okay with giving up the 3 yards, because 4th and 1 is basically a invitation for Dan Campbell to go for it. You have to treat third down like fourth down. We got to stop them cold. We got to put pressure on them cold. Like, even if it's 3rd and 8, you don't want to give up 6 to 7 yards on Dan Campbell, because he's going to go for it on fourth, especially a game like this when he's like, look, if we play everybody and play our hearts out, we get next week off. And I think that's the other key. And that's the key for both teams. Hey, play your heart out, leave it all on the field, because you get next week off. The thing that sucks is the team that lays it all on the field and still loses has to then travel to either Tampa or Atlanta. And I think that's the tough thing about this game. But when you look at sacks allowed, the Lions allowed 2. They got after the quarterback 2 for the 49ers. Again, I just feel like Brian Flores' defense moves a little bit faster, a little bit more sneakier than the 49ers defense. Like, they did not look like, not say they cared. It just didn't feel like they had everything there. Time of possession, 34 to 25. Again, you just saw a masterclass of Kevin O'Connell holding on to the ball, being able to control the clock a little bit, being able to run the ball when he wanted to, being able to use the fullback to solidify a game. If there was ever a game, which this is it, to put everything out there and say, look, here's a couple plays I've had in the holster. I have not used them all season, but we've been working on them. I'm using them now. This is it for Kevin O'Connell, because him versus Ben Johnson, that's going to be the storyline all week. Brian Flores versus Dan Campbell, storyline, even Coach Hatt, the special teams coach, because again, you have to be prepared for any special teams fakes, any 4th and 1 punts that are not going to be a punt. There's going to be a quick snap to the up back. All of that is going to matter in this game, and that's what I'm focusing on. My key is you have to do that.
Let me ask you a question. So the Lions have put more trick plays on tape than any other team in the NFL. Just last night, they had the hook and ladder to Williams for a touchdown.
Or a touchdown.
2 weeks ago, last week they did the fake fumble.
The fake fumble against the Bears.
They passed to their lineman sometimes.
Stumble Bumble is the name of the play, by the way. They had it mic'd up. So he said stumble bumble. Whatever, like it's probably like jet something over deep, whatever, stumble bumble, and everybody's like, what? Okay, we're doing it. Like, what? So yeah.
So what is that? What do you think that realistically, how does that occupy the other team from a prep standpoint? Are they going through contingencies of how you handle those type of plays, or is it really just window dressing? You just have to react to it.
window dressing, you have to react to it. So I think the biggest thing for Flores is don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Like if you see ball, get ball. But if you don't see ball, don't go for everybody yelling, like making it look like it's a fumble or making it look like it's a busted play. Like stay with your receivers, cover the guy, like worry about your job. If you're in cover 4, stay in cover 4. If you're in man, stay with the tight end. Like if you're a linebacker, don't think, oh, let me run up and go get a strip sack or whatever, a scoop and score fumble because somebody yelled fumble. Stay with your guy, because even if it is a true fumble, he has the ability to pick it up, run around, and still make a throw. Stay with your guy. If it is a pass and the guy catches the ball, tackle your guy, but also don't give up don't assume, okay, he called a curl, there's a guy right there, it's gonna be it. Keep running. You know what I mean? Like whoever had Jamison Williams on that, across, he kind of stopped when the ball was thrown. Why? Keep running, play to the whistle. And I think that's going to be the key for this is eyes on everybody, but do not fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Worry about your job. If you're in cover 2, worry about your flat. If you're deep half safety, worry about your deep half. If you're the Tampa linebacker running the seam, stay up the middle. Don't worry about everybody else. Like play your role in this game. If you're Josh Metellus and you're supposed to blitz, just blitz. Don't worry about all the other crap. Somebody else will handle whether it's a screen or whatever. Get your hands up when it's time to get your hands up. All that stuff I think is what it does. And it does put a little bit of extra gray hair on the defensive coordinator because you have to teach this. You have to be a little bit more alert. You have to tell the guys, hey, look, one is coming. One to 2 trick plays are coming. It's just what Ben Johnson does. It's the time he spends drawing them up, and he's waiting for the moment when he feels like you've been lulled to sleep. It's like a boxer. I'm not going in for the knockout shot until I know you're tired, you're not paying attention. So whether it's like something in tempo, because in tempo you don't have time to communicate. So in tempo, maybe that's when they do it because it's like, look, let's go no huddle. Now they don't know because at no huddle, nobody would assume no huddle a fake's coming or a special play is coming in. And so again, that like if it happens, we can go back and post this clip that I said it. When you go no huddle, that's the perfect time to run a trick play. So you could probably say, hey, first play, this. Second play, tempo, get to the line of scrimmage. We're running stumble bumble again. Because that you don't have time to communicate. The only thing the defense is doing is saying whatever, like 2 receivers, 3 over here, boom, 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 like close it right, strong left, go. And you don't have time to say, hey, watch for this. Watch if this guy does this. You don't have time. So if Ben Johnson's thinking like, hey, Brian Flores is one of the smartest defensive coordinators out there right now as well, how can I get him? I got to keep him when he's not paying attention to this could be a trick play because he doesn't realize we've called the trick play. It could be play 3. So it's first down, so you're going to get 3 plays. You could say play 1, toss left. Play 2, hitches or slants. Play 3, here's the trick play. Because now if you went tempo for 3 plays, you're not thinking 3 plays ahead to say keep an eye on this, watch out for that. Yeah, Ben Johnson has some up his sleeve. But again, that's why you do this stuff. You put it on film. You give a defensive coordinator gray hair, and he has to watch it all. But, at the end of the day, too, and I'll ask you this question. If the Vikings lose, because we haven't lost in, 10 games? They haven't lost in 10 games. How does the world feel? Because you can't feel defeated because you just lost to the number 1 seed that is supposed to go to the Super Bowl that's been the odds-on favorite. But how like, does it matter how they lose? Like, if they get blown out, does that now make everybody upset?
I think that if they get blown out, you're not going to have anybody picking the Vikings to win the Super Bowl. And if they lose close, same deal. I'm not sure people are going to project the Vikings to win the Super Bowl as a 5 seed going on the road. Like, I think that the winner of this game probably goes in to the playoffs as the trendy pick to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. So it's going to change the postseason perception. I think that if you're going on the road, and we'll talk about this in segment 2, Ron. If you're going on the road as a 5 seed, potentially for 3 games, it's just harder to get on board. But hey, the Vikings lost 1 road game all year. The Lions lost no road games all year. Perfect on the road. So both of those teams are good on the road. But I just think it changes the perception about how much of a contender they are going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the key. I do feel like if the Vikings win and the Lions are the 5 seed, people are probably still picking the Lions to come back and get to the NFC Championship game.
Maybe.
Which could be Could it be Vikings Lions in Minnesota? Like, is there a way for that to happen?
Oh yeah. So, should we talk about that in segment 2?
Let's talk about that in segment 2. Let's talk about that because we could talk about all the playoff scenarios and how it could end up still being a Vikings Lions either way in the NFC Championship, whether it's in Detroit or in Minneapolis, and we'll do all that after a word from our sponsors.
Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. It's the end of the year, good time to audit your finances. Rocket Money is a good way to help with that because it finds the subscriptions you forgot about. Maybe you were double paying. It happens to the best of us, especially with those streaming apps. You just load up. You don't realize how much you're actually paying out of pocket every month to watch your favorite shows and live TV. And Rocket Money can help with that. They'll track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. When you cancel those unwanted subscriptions, you increase your savings and you lower your bills. It's a nice way to go into 2025 with a clean sheet financially. They've got over 5 million users, and they've saved $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when you use their premium features. So that subscription tracker is the best. Use it to cancel the services you don't want anymore. With their goals feature, you can automatically set aside money for the future so you don't stress about that budget. Cancel the unwanted subscriptions. Reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
Well, Sam, as we talk about this, like the favorite, we talked about the 1 seed, the 5 seed. Is it a chance for them to play each other and get back? So you were saying there is a way. So if the Vikings are the 1 and the Lions are the 5, how can the Lions get back to Minneapolis to try to go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, so it could happen in the divisional round or it could happen in the NFC Championship, and it all depends on who wins in that first round because they reseed, right? Yep. So I think we all agree the Packers could win. The Packers could win as a 6 seed. The 7 seed actually. The Commanders could win as a 6 seed. I think all the wildcard teams could win. So let's say that the Packers win. They beat the Eagles, right? Then the Packers would come back to US Bank Stadium in the divisional round. You got to have a rematch there. If the Lions win their 2 games as the 5, then they would come in the NFC Championship and play again. So, Ron, you could go to all this work. You could go to all this work beating the Packers, beating the Lions. You could conceivably have to play them again the next 2 games. And you might play the Lions 2 times in a row because the Lions could come in the divisional round after your bye week, assuming that the 2 seed wins, the 3 seed wins, and the Lions beat the 4 seed, then the Lions would come in the divisional round. So you could play them twice in a row. And that worries me, Ron. Does it worry you to say, oh, we just beat the Packers, we swept them, we beat the Lions to win the conference? Wouldn't that worry you to then have to play them again, a team that has something to prove, chip on their shoulder? That freaks me out a little bit.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, you don't want to play a team 3 times. I don't even want to play the Packers a 3rd time. Like, I really don't. Like, I would rather play the Commanders. I want the Rams again. Like, if there's a way for them to get the Rams again just to prove, because I know they're better than the Rams. We know that was a weird Thursday night game, short week. Guys were tired. Guys even talked about that, like the short week, flying LA, blah, blah. Like, I would love to get the Rams back. The problem is if they are the 5 seed, they have to go to the Rams because you're right. The Packers could find a way to beat the Eagles, which means then they go play the Lions. And then the Vikings could beat it could be the Bucks or the Falcons, and the Rams can beat the Commanders, and then they go there. The cool thing about this is what you want a Commanders-Packers win, because now the Vikings get to host a game because the Packers then have to go to Detroit, and the Commanders travel to Minneapolis. And I think that's the best case scenario. Like, so for fans wondering at home, you actually want the Commanders. Now, here's a question, and this is the fun one. And of course, we can do this on Friday as well because we're going to be back Friday, people. So make sure you guys check out the Roundtable on Friday, the football show. Would you rather play the Commanders or the Rams? Because you get to travel to LA and you get a Rams team, or you get a young Jaden Daniels traveling to Minneapolis for the division, or what is that? The semi? I forget how they call those. It's not the divisional round.
Yeah. So as the
the
5
final
seed,
4. Correct.
Yeah.
As the 5 seed. So as the way it's slated now, they have them as 5 because they have the Lions as the 1. Let's just say they lose to the Lions as the 5. They go to the Falcons or they go to the Bucks. I actually rather go to the Falcons than the Bucks. I would. Even though Penix is starting to look good, but that would be super like poetic to go back to Atlanta and Kirk sitting on the bench to play the Vikings. Like that would be tough on Kirk too. I know that's going to be tough for him. Could be a Jamie Foxx moment where all of a sudden Michael Penix gets hurt and Kirk Cousins has to trot out there and win a game for the Atlanta, and the Atlanta falls back in love with Kirk Cousins. But yeah, if the Commanders or you get the Commanders, which one would you take of the two? Atlanta, or sorry, would you rather go to the Rams or would you rather the Commanders come to Minnesota?
Yeah, great question. I think if you go to play the Rams again, you're going to bring a huge contingent of fans in LA. The Rams can't score, Ron. They have like 2 touchdowns in their last 3 games. They haven't scored more than 20 points. They've got some weird. How is the offense this bad this late in the season with Stafford and Kupp and Puka? Now, Jaden Daniels, like I love Flores against a rookie quarterback. I think that's a good matchup, and I like bringing Daniels into this building for the first time. I think that phases some young guys, so I think that's probably slightly preferable than rolling the dice against a Super Bowl winning team in their building. But the Rams are gettable right now. And Ron, here's what's sneaky. So if the Vikings are the 5, there's a scenario where the Rams drop to 4 and you go to play them in the first round, because if the Bucks win and they're playing the Saints the Saints at home, the Bucks aren't losing. If the Rams lose to the Seahawks, which is not impossible, then the Bucks go to 3, Rams drop to 4, and then your first round game would be in LA against the Rams. And that could very, very realistically happen. So then it would be beat the Rams, and then you probably go to either Detroit or Philly or maybe Tampa. We don't know. The reseeding makes it very hard to anticipate.
Right. And so of all that, so we've talked about this before. Let's remove the Lions because I think the Lions is the answer, but maybe not. Let's start there. Would you rather play the Eagles or Lions to go to the Super Bowl?
Man, I mean, think about the catharsis of beating the Eagles after what happened in 2017. If you have to go back to their building and try to do it again, that would be unbelievably satisfying. I think that's preferable to playing Detroit and beating Detroit. Like this is the regular season Super Bowl this Sunday. Right. This is the Super Bowl of the regular season. So you conquer that demon. Then you go and you beat Philly. That's the postseason demon that you need to conquer 7 years later. I think that's my favorite emotionally satisfying path.
Because the Eagles, to me, like, they don't look super scary after all the stuff they've been through. Like when you look at some of the injuries, when you look at some of the discord of AJ and Jalen Hurts talking about like our pass offense needs to get better. We do know they run the ball though, and the Vikings run defense is good. So that to me, and again, the Lions run the ball and the Vikings run defense is good, is like one of the top 3. So when you think about that, is can they stop Saquon Barkley? And that's the key. But I do know when you look at the Eagles and you look at the way they played and the way they're playing and the fact that now they get to go play the Giants for Saquon to like break the record against his old team. Like somebody asked me this before. I'm like, I'm giving them the ball 300 times. Like I'm giving them the ball till he can't take it anymore. Oh yeah, I was on KFan radio yesterday and they asked me that question. I'm like, yeah, I would give him the ball 300 times. I would be that petty. One, because it doesn't matter. I don't think they can come away from the 2 seed. Like nobody can jump them to get the 2 seed. Right. So the win doesn't matter. The one thing is you want Saquon to leave that game healthy, but at the same time, hey, run tush push with Saquon Barkley. Like I would get super petty. Like I would run the tush push fake where Jalen Hurts takes it. I don't know if you've seen that, the newest one. I think it was the I don't know if it was Rutgers or who ran it, but it was a fake tush push, and then he did the like Statue of Liberty play where he put it behind him, the old Boise State play, and the guy takes it and runs like a jet sweep off of the tush push. Like I am doing everything in my power to get Saquon 200 yards against the Giants to just 1, break the record. 2, I know Eric Dickerson's looking like, man, I didn't get to play 17 games, but you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles. As they add games, these records are starting to fall. And it's still amazing that, what him and OJ did in the amount of games they did it in. But that's the only thing about the Eagles that scares me is Saquon. I feel like the Lions are beatable. But again, going to Detroit, who knows? Like, who knows what you get there? But you're right. It could be the Rams, could be the Bucks, could be the Falcons. And that's the cool thing about this week is like the best thing for the Vikings, and I've said this numerous times, they don't have to stare at a TV to wait to see where they're going to be, if they're going to make the playoffs. They can go travel. They're going to travel to Detroit. They're going to be in the hotel. I don't know if they're going to be at Motor City or near it or whatever, the casino. Guys can relax during the day, go get some food. They don't have to watch. They can watch games if they want for fun. Just say, hey, let's watch and see what happens. Are the Bucks winning? Like, is that going to be the 4 seed? Or the Rams losing? Is that going to be the 4 seed? Other than that, you win, you get to rest. And I think that's what Kevin O'Connell is probably saying. Like, who cares what the other teams are doing? We win. We are the number 1 seed. And I think that's the best position a coach can be in versus, and we remember this. Remember, like, the Vikings won at home, and I think, and everybody stayed at the stadium to watch the end of, I forgot which game, because that was going to put the Vikings in the playoffs or not. And I can't remember if they even made it in or not, but I think they did make it in. I think the team they needed to lose lost. And so then the Vikings got in the playoffs. But I remember sitting there after that win, like, everybody's, because we were doing the fan line, of course, but everybody's staring at the big, screen, watching the final plays of the game. The rumor was that the Vikings players were in the locker room as well, waiting to celebrate, watching the game too. And then, of course, then the players get to celebrate. They're going to the playoffs. So that's where you don't want to be. That's kind of where, the Buccaneers and the Falcons at least are. The Falcons are like, look, we win. We still got to hope the Buccaneers lose. And same with the Buccaneers or them, like, hey, if we win, we still got to hope the Rams lose so we can get the 3 seed. Because honestly, I think the rest of these teams, other than the Eagles and the Lions, and maybe even them, nobody really wants to play the Vikings right now. I don't think anybody wants to face Brian Flores' defense. I don't think anybody wants to face Justin Jefferson. I don't think anybody, like, as funny and crazy as it sounds to say it out loud, I don't think anybody wants to deal with Sam Darnold right now. Like, I don't think anybody could have ever predicted Sam Darnold would be a feared quarterback in this league, but at the moment, he is. And that's what's so crazy about this season is, like, it's the season of redemption. I don't know where Sam Darnold goes from here, but it was fun to, we've been a part of some cool stuff. Like Josh Dobbs, I don't know if you saw him coming at the end of the 49ers game.
He balled.
He actually looked good. Like, he was throwing. My daughter's like, wait, is that the same Josh Dobbs who played with? I'm like, yep, that's him. She's like, oh, he's doing pretty good. I'm like, yeah, he is. He's dropping dimes. He's finding a wide open receiver, throwing it on time. Like, and maybe here's the funny thing. Sam Darnold went from Shanahan to O'Connell. Dobbs went from O'Connell to Shanahan. So maybe there's something to those two. Maybe that's the formula for getting your swagger back. Because Josh Dobbs looked pretty good. Like, honestly, if Brock Purdy had been out like long term, and that was the best option they had was Josh Dobbs, I would have been interested to see him in that offense. Like, again, same way he was in Kevin O'Connell's offense. I think you would have had some Kaepernick lightning in the bottle with Josh Dobbs in that offense. Like, I think people forget how good Josh Dobbs was with the Vikings, just improvising. And he did that as a late ad where I think he's been with the 49ers, right? Most of the season.
I think he's been there the whole time. Yeah, I don't know if he's been the 2. He might have been the 3rd string, actually.
He was, because there was another guy that played when Brock Purdy was out. So I don't know what the deal was there. I can't remember. But, yeah, he came in all of a sudden, and he looked good. Ricky Purcell, by the way, as a rookie, sucks that he got shot and wasn't able to play the whole season. But he looks really good. Like, I think they're excited about him, which probably the reason for that was to say, like, what do we do with Brandon Ayuk and Debo? Because it's not going the way we thought it was going to go. Like, we paid both of them big money, and we're getting no return on our investment, and we still got to find a way to play Brock Purdy at some point. So I could see one of those two guys get moved. But we got to jump into the Daily 3. Sam, before we get out of here again, I asked you about the Eagles-Lions. You gave me that one. You gave me your Rams-Commanders. Would you rather play, and here's the last one, after the way we just handled them, the Commanders or the Packers? If you're the one, we're the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Who would you rather come out of this in the second round, the Packers or the Commanders?
Yeah, Commanders. I know it's weird to say because you've handled the Packers so nicely in each of those 2 games. I don't care that they were 2-point games. You smoked them. You were up 28-0 and 27-10. I mean, you handled the Packers twice. And yet I would still prefer the rookie quarterback coming into this new environment against Brian Flores. I just think that's very alarming for a young quarterback. He's had his ups and downs this year, very high ceiling, probably going to be one of the best quarterbacks in this league before long, but I would still prefer that, than Matt LaFleur trying to scheme up against what's gone wrong the first two games and making those adjustments and coming in for a third time. I'd rather play the Commanders, and maybe that's the wrong decision after the way you've beaten the Packers, but I think that's my choice. How about you?
Yeah, I struggle with Jaden Daniel's legs. Like when you watch what he's done against the Eagles, you watch the last game against the Falcons, how he just is willing to take over and run the ball, like purposefully, like dropping back. Basically, it sounds like the coach gives him like an internal clock, like, hey, after 3 seconds, go, because it's like 1, 2, 3, boom, and he's out. Like it's very like on time. I don't know if that's just his clock or if he's literally like 1, 2, 3, boom, and I'm out. And because when he runs, he's not running to slide. He's running to get a big play because it's happened numerous times now. And that's the only thing about this defense with the Vikings is when you get a quarterback that can run. We've seen that with the Eagles in years past with Jalen Hurts. Definitely a different defense now. You got Van Ginkel and Grenard, so they haven't actually faced Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. That makes me a little nervous. The way he's able to get out the pocket and just create havoc and move down the field, because if you're playing man, your back is to him. So you don't know he's taken off, and he can outrun all your front seven. I mean, I think Dallas Turner might be I have to go back and look at the 40s, but I think Dallas Turner might be the only one on that front seven that's fast enough to chase him down and keep up with him. But like Jaden Daniels can move, and that's the only thing, because Jordan Love can move, but it doesn't feel like he wants to. It seems like he's a little bit nervous to get out of there and really, really take off and go. Yeah. Which that's what they thought he was going to be, but that's not what he is. It feels like he's more Aaron Rodgers. Like, run when you need to, don't run because you have to. Or sorry, run when you have to, don't run because you need to. Like it just feels like he runs and he's like, well, let me stay behind this blue line that nobody can see but the people at home on TV, so I can try to like throw the ball. It's so funny too that we see the blue line but they can't, but every quarterback seems to like run right up into it as if it's like a glass pane, because they run to it and then they stop and it's like, oh, don't touch the blue line, and then they throw the ball. Because there was times I thought Jordan Love could have rushed for 15 yards against the Vikings and he didn't. He kind of scrambled out and then he just stayed back and then try to find somebody. So that's the only reason why I like him over Jane. Jane Daniels is like, screw this. If I see daylight, I'm gone and I'm going to get yards. So that makes me a little nervous with the running quarterback. But we got the Daily 3 coming up next. That's 3 questions. We're spending about 3 minutes each today because we have time. And this is our last show of 2024, so we're going to make this a fun one, but we'll do that after a short pause. But I want everybody to know, please make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. You can follow all of our postcasts as well on YouTube. Hey, and you can get the football party twice a week. You can get your Vikings fix with Arif Hassan, Luke Inman, Luke Braun, and Sam Ekstrom broadcasting live on Locked On Sports Minnesota. We'll be back after this. And again, people, when you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube, you get all of our content. You'll get alerts when it comes up, and it's free. Just make sure you go to YouTube, have your be logged in with your email address. Just hit subscribe or follow, and you'll follow Locked On Sports Minnesota on our YouTube channel. Well, now it's time for the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Take it away, Sam.
So this is interesting, Ron. Anthony Edwards has been fined for a second time for swearing in interviews. He got fined $75,000. And he did it again, and he got fined $100,000. So $175,000 for swearing. The last one, I watched it live after the Rockets game. Couple S words, and then the F bomb at the end, and that might have clinched it. So first, your thoughts on that, Ron, and then have you ever gotten in any hot water for letting something slip in the wrong place?
No, I can't remember what I did, but I think they scrubbed it. But I have like made a mistake before on the radio, but that they caught it before it actually got out there. I think there was one time it did actually, but they didn't find me. I think they just find, iHeartMedia or something. Who knows who they find? But it was late though. It was a night game, Sunday night or Monday night. So, it was like midnight, 12:30 when it happened, just because I was tired, wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah.
So no, I've never gotten fined for that, especially playing the sport. No, my interviews were all like buttoned up and straight lace forward, and I'm not trying to say anything crazy. I'm more surprised that he could get fined for criticizing the refs the way he did, because the one interview he did, he said like all of them are bleep and blah blah, and except for the woman though, she was good, she's fine, but the rest of those goons, man, they need to do this. So I was very surprised, and I guess players maybe have a little bit more leniency in the locker room than on the podium, because if a coach did that on a podium, he's getting fined right away by the league. So I'm extremely surprised, but maybe that's their way of saying, look, let's not fine them about the refs. Like, we do know the refs screwed up. Let's just fine them for cursing. So it feels like a little bit of a, well, we don't really care about this, but we got to fine you because we don't want to make it about the refs. So we're going to fine you about the cursing. So I don't know. But do you think it was warranted? Like, do you think, like, I get it, but
yeah. So number one, it's been a thing for a while and they've let it slide. I think they sent a warning shot with the $75,000 fine. So then for him to do it again, not in the locker room, but on TV, and drop 3 swear words in basically one answer. I was watching that, Ron, live, and I was just like, oh, he dropped it. Oh, he dropped that F-bomb at the end. Yeah, he just can't help himself. And he was like not even mad. He was happy. It was after a win. So I probably can't have guys doing that, especially when they're faces of the league. I think people like kind of chuckle at him, but I'm sure he's not chuckling now, having paid $175,000, which is kind of a lot of money.
Well, a nice charity is going to get a nice little bump.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I don't know how much of the TV broadcast you saw, Ron. I know you probably were at the stadium a little bit and then go into the studio, but from what you saw, what'd you think of Tom Brady's Vikings analyst debut, his first game doing a Vikings game?
I actually did have it on my phone a little bit too, so I have one earbud in, so I just keep one earbud in and I keep it on the phone so I can kind of hear both. And because like when we're at the stadium, you're looking at the TV, you're trying to hear what they're saying. Sometimes you're trying to hear the reasoning for the fumble, or hey, was he down, or was this an interception, or was this a turnover, or was that a strip sack fumble, or or whatever. Brady's fine. Brady's fine for me. Like, I think, he lacks energy in big moments. Like when big plays happen, you want like, oh, did you see that throw? Like, like Sam Darnold's second level throw. He threw it over one defender, between another defender, kind of teardropped it into Jalen Naylor. And Tom Brady goes like, yeah, it's an okay throw. It's a regular throw. It's a basic throw, but I guess it'll do right now. Like, it's not a great throw, but it's just like, to me, it just feels like Tom, like, let's go back to your rookie year. Let's go back to your second year. Let's go back to your whole career. Like, you weren't always making big throws. You had big time receivers making big time plays. Let's not forget the 18-win season was Randy Moss deep balls. Yes, that is his arm. But that's Randy Moss. Like, Randy Moss, like, I think scored 23 touchdowns that season. So, like, be very careful in how, like, because Tony Romo tries to question coaches' calls and how they do stuff. So I think Brady's fine. I think, one, he needs to get energy, and maybe it's tough to have energy for other teams when you're the owner of a team. Like, I don't understand this. It's a 100% conflict of interest for an owner. Could you imagine Jerry Jones doing a Vikings Packers game? Like, he's not going to say anything exciting about either team. And that's what, like Arthur Blank, or, the Wilfs. Could you imagine the Wilfs doing a Packers-Lions game? Like, Mark Wilf is not going to go up there and be like, oh, did you see that throw by Jared Goff? Like, and that's what I don't get. Like, Tom Brady, his allegiance is to Allegiant Stadium, no pun intended. But he's honoring his team. He's not even allowed in the building for like the pressers and stuff to meet the coaches and the players and watch practice, because you don't want him taking any intel back to the Raiders. Like, man, they have a little station over there that massages each toe separately and then gives them a pedicure. Like, we got to get one of those. Like, he's getting no intel by doing that. And so if he's already rich, you've already paid him $37 million this year. Walk away, take the $37.5 million for this season, walk away, go. You got stake in the Raiders, which probably is going to return you close to $500 million when they sell the team, and whenever you sell it 10, 15, 20 years from now. So you got $500 million just sitting there that's not going to lose. I mean, unless the Raiders kill a bunch of people and set the stadium on fire and come out and say we are actually Satan, I don't know if that team, and I don't know if people would care if the Raiders were Satan, because they would be like, we figured that. Look at the fans, and it makes total sense. So
in a city of sin.
Right. I don't think people, like, I think Vegas would be like, oh, okay. It makes sense. Like, okay, I see.
We love you more now.
I see why you moved the team to Vegas over LA or Oakland, because you needed to get out of there. You needed the fire. You needed the heat from the sand, because that is your home place, Satan. I don't think the team would even lose money at that point. So that's why I just feel like he has a guaranteed investment in the Raiders. He should just move on, because it doesn't seem like he's excited about the stuff that happens. Like when big plays happen, you expect more. Like the one-handed catch by Justin Jefferson. I want like, oh my God, it was just like, oh yeah, that's a great catch and everything, but it's a penalty. But it's like, what? Like, dude, come on, give me some excitement. But it's the throw for me. When he said that was I forgot what the wording he used, but he just made it sound like, I've seen better. It's just I don't like that.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're referring to. It was like a big play too, and he kind of downplayed it. I think that he's got to work on getting through replays and narrate and like taking you second level. A lot of times the replay is being shown, and I think he's probably seeing it for the first time, and he's not. Maybe he hasn't really diagnosed the play yet, and he's kind of just narrating like, "Yep, there's the pass rush, there's a little dump off throw, and a nice tackle." Like, tell me what I'm seeing and why it matters. I didn't feel like that was particularly honed, but I don't think he also deserves endless hate. Like some people want to give him. I thought it was
he's fine.
C grade, B minus. Last one, I need predictions from you on the CFP quarterfinals, and then I want a minute on the Gophers Dukes Mayo Bowl. Let's start with the matchups. Quick answers here. Penn State. This is tonight, by the way. Penn State, Boise State.
Penn State. Easy. I mean, I guess Genty is good, but again, they haven't faced, I don't think they faced like a big time. Penn State's defense is quiet, and they don't get a lot of credit. So, and I've watched them live when they played the Gophers. I was right there on the field watching them. They hit hard, and that tight end is tough to handle. He is, should have been one of the, candidates for Heisman, but yeah, I got Penn State.
They're favored by 11.5, by the way. Texas, Arizona State.
That's a big number.
Yeah, that is big. Here's another big number. Texas favored by 13 against Arizona State.
Yeah, Texas. They have too much firepower.
Yeah, that's another one really good running back for Arizona State, but they might be able to stop him. Here's the big one: Ohio State, Oregon.
Oh, I can't wait for this one. What is that? Is that tomorrow at 4:00? Is that the Rose? Yeah, that is the Rose Bowl. I forgot they're doing these are the big bowls now. So you got the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Texas, Arizona State. You got the Rose Bowl. I'm gonna go Oregon wins the Rose Bowl. They're already used. So this is actually like what the Rose Bowl would have looked like with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm gonna go with, I think Oregon. Like watching them, I was high up on Ohio State last time they played them was close, but watching Oregon this last game, They got a lot of firepower. Like I just think when you watch them in the Big Ten championship, they play well, and so I got to go to Oregon.
Yeah, Ohio State favored by 2.5 in that game, and finally Georgia favored by 1.5 against Notre Dame
in the Sugar Bowl. It's going to come down to quarterback play. I think I like Notre Dame in this, though. I do like the upset. I like Notre Dame in this one. A lot of people are just thinking Georgia's going to roll, and they were saying Georgia has the easiest path to the championship over Oregon, because Oregon has to beat Ohio State and Texas probably, whereas Georgia has to beat Notre Dame and then Penn State. I think Notre Dame might be a sneaky favorite, but it's going to be a good one. But I think Notre Dame's a sneaky favorite in this one, in my opinion.
And the bowl that everybody is waiting for, everyone around the country is waiting for, the Dukes Mayo Bowl. Friday, Minnesota, Virginia Tech. Gophers favored by 7.5. Will they win?
Yeah, I think they'll win. I did a film breakdown for the pregame show, so you guys will see it if you turn on the game 6:30 or 6 o'clock. So it's 30 minutes before kickoff. But my film breakdown just talks about Virginia Tech's offense, and it's one of those, I option, motion, jet sweep, quarterback fake, throw the ball deep offenses. And so for the Gophers, is just don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Don't go for all the trickery. Keep your eyes on the ball. Watch the guy with the ball. Don't worry about all the other stuff. If you have backside contain, just stay backside because it's coming back to you. They have a lot of big touchdowns on double, triple reverses where they hand it off to one guy. So they'll hand it off to the running back. He'll toss it to a receiver, and then that receiver tosses it to another receiver coming back the other way. It's crazy some of the stuff they do. And then they have a double option where the quarterback tosses it to the running back, and the running back will run an option with the receiver. So again, you got to watch where the ball is going. But yeah, I think the Gophers can pull this one out. They're good. They're going to run the ball. We know Darius Taylor's healthy. He's had a month to rest. So I think I'm looking for, or whatever, 3-4 weeks to rest. So I'm looking forward to the Gophers running the ball down their throat.
Yeah, it's good to see that Taylor's going to play, and I think everyone who's eligible is basically going to play in this game. I don't know, has anybody dropped out?
Not yet, but they have they just flew there today, and so they'll start to do you'll start to see some of the injury reports or guys sitting because of injury. So or guys just resting, hey, you're kind of banged up. Is it worth it to play in this game when you're going to, this is your last game as a Gopher? Maybe you go out there, but you don't play as much, so we don't have to make a big deal of it. And I think PJ's big on optics. If guys don't want to play, he's not going to quote unquote say they're opting out. He's just going to have them dress, warm up with their teammates for the last time, go through the motions, maybe even go out there for a kickoff or something, or a return, or maybe just a play or two on defense, kind of like Cam Moore. Just go out there and play a little bit and then come sit down. So I think if we do see a guy sit, it's going to be something like that.
Yeah, I think the Gophers win too. PJ doesn't lose bowl games. Give him a month to prepare. He doesn't lose.
He doesn't. Well, that'll do it for us today on the Ron Johnson Show. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Again, make sure you guys checked out Locked On Sports Minnesota on our postcast on YouTube, following every Twins, Vikings, Gophers, and Wolves game. Luke Inman is broadcasting live with team experts. Never miss a postcast by subscribing to Locked On Sports Minnesota. And if you wanted great content at the end of the Vikings-Lions game, this is the best week, because we are going to be on fire, whether they're 5 or the 1 seed. Season's not over. We're going to have playoff postcasts. So that's something that's going to be fun and new too. So make sure you guys check that out. Again, I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Well, thank you guys, and see you in 2025.